My own family said, "You don't belong here anymore," and kicked me out in front of everyone. So I walked away with nothing, but years later, I returned stronger than ever, and the same people who threw me out ended up on their knees begging me to forgive them. My name is Daniel, and I am 28. I never thought I would see the day when my own family, the very people who were supposed to love me, protect me, and stand beside me through thick and thin, would be the ones to push me away like I was nothing more than a burden. It all started when I was only 18. At that age, you are already unsure about the world, trying to figure out who you are and where you belong. Instead of guiding me, my family decided to tear me down at every step. The breaking point came one evening during a family dinner. Everyone was gathered around the long wooden table at my parents' house. Plates of food were passed around, laughter filled the room, but I could feel the tension building around me like a storm waiting to explode. My uncle made a harsh comment about how I was still not doing anything worthwhile with my life. My cousins snickered. My mother, instead of defending me, looked down at her plate as if she agreed. Then my father said the words that would cut deeper than any knife. "You don't belong here anymore, Daniel. You're just dead weight. Get out." At first, I thought I misheard him. The room fell silent. Everyone's eyes were on me. My heart raced as I tried to process what was happening. When I looked at my family, I saw nothing but coldness and judgment in their faces. My aunt added, "He's right. You've always been a disappointment. Maybe it's time you leave and stop eating food that's not even earned." The whole table laughed, except for me. I felt like the ground beneath me had disappeared. I remember standing up slowly, my hands shaking, my chest tight with both shame and rage. Without saying a word, I pulled my keys from my pocket and placed them on the table. Then I wrote a short note on the back of a napkin. It simply said, "You will regret this one day." When my mother read it, her face froze, but nobody said anything to stop me as I walked out of that house, out of their lives, and into the cold night with nothing but a small backpack. Life after that was hard, brutally hard. I slept on friends' couches, worked low-paying jobs, and struggled just to survive. There were nights I cried myself to sleep wondering how a family could be so cruel. But as the years passed, something inside me changed. Every insult, every moment of humiliation, every memory of their laughter at my pain became fuel. I decided that if my own family believed I was nothing, I would prove to myself that I was everything they said I could never be. I worked day and night, saved every dollar I could, and pushed myself to learn skills that could take me somewhere. Slowly but surely, things started to change. I landed a decent job, then moved into my own apartment. I went back to school part-time and earned a degree. Within a few years, I climbed the ladder in my career, started my own business, and before I knew it, I was living a life that was far beyond anything I could have imagined. That night I was kicked out. 10 years later, I was standing in a suit that cost more than my father's entire wardrobe, driving a car that my cousins would have dreamed of, and owning a house that made my parents' place look like a shack. Life had changed, and I had changed. But deep down, the wound of that night never truly healed. And as fate would have it, life gave me the perfect moment of closure. It was at my cousin's wedding. I was invited not out of love, but because they wanted to show off that they still had family ties. I went, not out of any need to reconnect, but to show them that the boy they had thrown away had become a man they could never break. When I walked into the venue, heads turned. My father's jaw dropped. My mother looked as if she had seen a ghost, and my cousins whispered among themselves, staring at the car keys I casually placed on the table. Throughout the evening, people came up to me with forced smiles, trying to make small talk, but I could see it in their eyes. Regret, jealousy, and shame. The same uncle who had mocked me years ago pulled me aside and said, "Daniel, you've really made something of yourself. Maybe you could help the family out with some of their financial problems." I looked at him, a man who once laughed in my face, and I couldn't help but smile. But the real moment came later that night. My father, the man who told me I didn't belong, came to me with tears in his eyes. His voice shook as he said, "Son, we were wrong. We shouldn't have treated you that way. Please, forgive us." We need you back in the family." Behind him, my mother nodded, her hands trembling. My cousins, the very ones who had mocked me, stood there silent, eyes cast down, as if they knew they had played a role in my exile. For the first time in my life, they were the ones on their knees, begging me, begging for forgiveness, begging for another chance, begging to be let back into the life they had once thrown me out of without a second thought. I looked at them, my heart heavy but clear, and I realized that night that sometimes walking away is not the end. Sometimes walking away is the beginning of becoming someone they could never have imagined. I didn't give them an answer. I simply walked away again, this time not with nothing, but with everything they thought I would never have.